everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again for another product deep dive. This time we have Pete Birsinger, the CEO and founder of Podscribe.ai, joining me again. Pete was the first person to do a product deep dive with us, and I'm so excited to have him back here because Pete and his team have dug into something really cool, and it's all about verification. So, Pete, can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to dig into today?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first off, happy to be back. It was a lot of fun the last time 6 months ago. So it's super valuable for us. So happy to be back. So appreciate you slipping us in. And for today, we're excited to announce our new product, Podverify, which is live on the site now and available for customers. What the gist of it is helping you as a podcast advertiser verify that the ads you get are what you paid for. We've been working with a number of agencies and buyers or advertisers on the buy side for the past year, helping them to do air checks. And what we've found is that air checks are a great start to help them track down the ads that they've put out into podcasts. But today we're excited to announce that we can help them take it a step further with added verification, with things such as verifying that the ad was in the right spot. So if you bought a mid-roll, we can help flag it if you got a pre-roll that it was the right length. So if you paid for a 60-second ad and it was less, that you would be aware of that. And then also just to make sure that it aired right when the episode was launched. So a couple more things down that path that we can verify, but that's the gist, bringing trust to podcast advertising through verification.
Well, first off, thank you so much for announcing a product in the product deep dive. I mean, this is a really cool opportunity. We've worked really hard to build up Sounds Profitable into something that's fun and engaging and a great way to communicate with people. And that means a lot to me that you've decided to do that. But the second thing is that verification is critical. In every other channel of advertising, you can't get away from it, right? If you think about digital display with banner ads and whatnot, there aren't campaigns that run without a tracking pixel that fires to prove that the ad was visible, to prove that it ran on the sites that it said they ran on. All of that stuff is just table stakes. And podcasting, with it being so server side, we don't have the control to be able to verify much on the client side. However, what Pete's done here, I'm a huge fan of. I've had a chance to take a look at this beforehand, and I think that this really honestly is the first verification product in podcasting, because what Pete's team built, if you've seen the previous one, was they download and transcribe podcast episodes so you can learn so much more about them. What's the content? What are the ads? All of that great information. But now this is focusing on understanding the podcast, knowing when a new episode is dropped, immediately downloading it so that you have that available at the first drop, confirming that the ad was in it, providing an air check, which is about 15 or 30 seconds of content before and after the ad, and then the ad itself, transcribing it so you have both the audio and the text, and then confirming all the variables that Pete just mentioned there, right? We have the length that you bought. We have, did it cover the key points that you're talking about? Did it mention the promo codes and vanity URLs? And a really important one that we don't talk about enough, was it there from the first download, right? The first download of that episode, because while podcasts sometimes, depending on them, have between 50 and 70% of their total downloads in that first 3-day period, that's a big deal, right? If you miss that first day, you pretty much need to ask for a make good. That's pretty common. And this is one of the only tools I've seen that can help detect that. So Pete, let's dive into this. What do we got for the first screen?
Right. So here we are on the dashboard for an agency, Amazing Podcast Agency. They've got some big name clients, Bank of America, Roman, LinkedIn, McDonald's, and they want to be sure that all of their ads are getting placed properly and they're in the right spot, the right length, the right promo code, all that good stuff. So on the requests tab here, we can see the requests that we're looking for these brands. So for instance, Roman would be spending on the On Cloud Wine podcast somewhere between 7:11 and 7:18 for a baked in mid-roll minute-long ad. So you can see here that a number of the requests are matching, some are missing. So at a high level, you can quickly see which of the requests for this last week, which we've filtered to, have been found or are missing. So say we want to start out with we want to see all the ones that matched from last week. So we can see here, we can see how many ads were found.
And so matched means that I set the date range when I provided this to you, and it matched the brand, it matched the podcast, it matched the date range, it matched where I specifically set it, and it at least matched the minimum length. Is that accurate?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, yep. So then you can go in and you can also say, well, let's say we want to take a deeper look and actually look at those ads. So let's go in and see this PayPal ad here. So then it takes you over to the ad section, and here's the ad right here. And then say if you wanted to then go in and actually view the transcript for it, it should then just load right here. And so I think we randomized the sponsor names just for privacy, but here's an ad here for it. And then you could go in and then click any word if you like to play from there, download the audio clip. And then even if you'd like as well, you could go in and then see the full context of the ad inside the transcript here. So say here, and it's jumping around in the name, but it wouldn't if that was your podcast.
No, that makes
I
like that. I like that way of doing a demo. I mean, that means that you're never sacrificing data. You always have something to show in a demo. So please don't worry about that. It's better than an empty demo and screenshots. So I just want to make sure I understand this. So that is showing me the transcript, which is for the whole show, right? So if I want to place an ad on a show that you don't already transcribe, now you're going to transcribe the entire show, the entire episode. You're going to dig out that specific ad in there, and then you're going to provide in both the full episode, the full transcript, and an air check for me to listen to audio wise. And I can play it from any part.
That's exactly right. So then, yeah, you can go in and see here. Well, let's say you may not have liked to have your ads stacked. So then you can go in and see which ads may have been around your ad or which are anywhere else in the podcast, and say also you wanted to do perhaps a quick scan for any brand safety word or term that you wanted to not appear. So I saw hired there. So you can filter on any word as well, just to in case that matters for you to be able to scan the full context.
Gotcha. To make sure that your ad wasn't associated with content you didn't want it to make sure your ad wasn't too close to another ad. Like that right there is showing 3 ads back to back, and your deal might not have you might have basically said, I'm not up for that. And that's really important. Very interesting. I like that. Now, transcription's a really tough thing, right? We have a lot of different ways to do it with AI and whatnot, but is this just AI transcription? Like, is this just processed through a third party and then that, or is it cleaned up in any way?
So the transcript itself is all AI, but we do have humans that will go in and then clean up where the exact ads are. So, and if you'd like us to as well, the one thing they can clean up for you is they can actually clean up the promo code and URL. So for instance, it looks like this one is right, indeed.com freelance there. But or code freelance here, it looks like that code was spelled correctly. But if you would like, we can have our team also go in and make sure the promo code is perfect, so then you can actually verify it automatically.
Now that's well. Awesome. I mean, I think that that's the truth of it. We need to realize that ad tech tools are tools, right? They're not automation. They're not robots. They're not coming for our job. The dream that programmatic was going to put people out of business has never happened because a human still needs to validate it, just like transcription. So it's really actually cool to hear you say that, like, you're using AI, but there are still people involved because that's the truth of it. For this type of verification, there are words, there are sentences, there are phrases that are just not going to get picked up correctly. I'm sure that vanity URL absolutely had to be corrected by a human, because there's no way that it would accurately correct a URL.
Yeah, and actually one thing that is pretty difficult is our code can pretty accurately predict where an ad is and who the sponsor is. But what is really tough in some of the episodes is picking out with AI exactly where the ad began and end, because some of the podcasters are so good at weaving the ad into their context. It just can be difficult for AI to pinpoint the exact start. So that's another big area where humans are super helpful, because we really want to make sure to get that exact start labeled correctly.
And I think that's great, because it really depends for different people, right? Like some of them are like, and now we're going to go to our sponsors, right? And so do you count that as the 30 seconds of content, or do you want the full content beforehand? Is that important if they're stacked to take advantage of that? And I think that human cleanup is really important, and a lot of people don't offer that, or they kind of offer it at pretty exorbitant rates. So my understanding, and never going to ask anybody to quote weights on something that I want them to keep using for a long time, but it's pretty much part of the package, especially if you're looking for promo codes and vanity URL cleanup, right?
Yeah, definitely. And we also want to get more into verifying that the podcaster stuck to the script or whatever bullet points that you wanted them to stick to. So we're working on being able to do that as well. I think we should be able to have that available later in August, because if our team is already going to do a little bit of cleanup, it probably makes sense if your team is already doing it, for us to add on a little level of verification there as well, to potentially catch any red flags sooner than later on top of what we already are catching.
And I think that that's really important, because brands are paying for very specific things and there's agreed upon terms. And obviously, there's going to be some wiggle room. And obviously, certain hosts have more leniency than others. But the truth of it is you know what your talking points are. And if you can condense them to something that a human can verify against, as well as like your promo codes, the vanity URLs, anything else, the time, this is a really great tool that's going to provide you that just inventory, right? If somebody is slightly going off the script, if somebody is slightly deviating from your points, well, now you have a marker for when you want to bring it up. Because now if they continue to go further and further off, you can see that progression. But I'm a big fan of this. I guess my question is, how do I enter this information in?
So I can show you that in a request template, but one thing I actually did just want to show here really quick
Sure.
is something that might be a little bit of fun, is seeing mismatches actually. So let's say if we want to view mismatches, so where what you got didn't exactly line up with what you bought. So for these, it looks like we bought mid rolls here. So we would be expecting mid rolls. So for this one here with PRX, we are expecting a 30-second mid roll. And if we look at it, it looks like we actually flagged it because we got a pre here. So it started at 56 seconds and went to a minute 30. So you can view the transcript on your own, but it may be worth diving in there to seeing what happened there with that. And similarly, if we want to flag, let's see, oh, if we want to go in and view ones that instead of mismatch, but that may have been short, so a little bit shorter than what we bought. For example, here for this baked in ad, if we bought a minute long ad and then we go look at it, it looks like this one was 46 seconds here. So maybe not the biggest deal. It depends, how important it is to you, but you're
It's
at
still
least
good to
now.
note. These are
Yep.
all things that are good to note, because you can determine with enough evidence whether or not to enforce any of this stuff. That's what's really important here. Like, this isn't an immediate thing to be like, aha, I got you. But it's a thing to know, right? Who the brands are. Like, the brands, it's valuable for them to know what publishers are doing and how they're handling it. It's valuable for them to have their own audit process that is capturing this stuff so that they can verify it themselves. And I like that. I mean, the mismatch and the missing and all of these things here, the things that show that things don't align correctly by all those markers, the fact that you're going to have the talking points soon, that's all really powerful stuff. And I think it's really easy, unfortunately too easy, possibly, to just focus on the successful ones. So I'm very happy you showed me some of the ones where it fails.
Yeah, definitely. By and large, most podcast ads go well, but if you're running enough ads, you're definitely bound to run into ones where you didn't quite get what you paid for. in one way or another. So, and like you're saying, you can be as hands-on or as hands-off as you want with this, but at least with a tool like this, the hope is that you can keep the publishers as accountable as you want them to be, with next to no effort on your part. And say, for instance, if you just wanted to come in and every month view the mismatches are missing by publisher, so then you could actually go in here and then also filter on publisher, say, let's see, PRX, say. And then what you could do is you could go and export this table and then just send them a list of all the ones that were missing or mismatched.
Wow.
Because so maybe you didn't want to do it every week, but you could also then just go by publisher if you wanted to at least
Yeah.
let them know you're keeping on top of things.
And it's so funny because like I remember the days of digital advertising where they would be like, we'd like to see the ad in a live environment. I'm like, hey man, like it's a lot of impressions that are going out. Like you're just one of many. And they'd be like, well, can you simulate it? And you have to make a test site and flight it there. And then they want to see other ads so it looks realistic. And at the end of the day, it's a nightmare to make that simulated environment. And what you're doing here is you're catching it live, you're storing it live. This is a feature that I'm honestly shocked that no hosting platform provides automatically, right? Because the hosting platforms, especially with dynamic ad insertion, every permutation that could possibly exist between ad and content, it should just create this, but it doesn't. So the publishers are not equipped to get this. So when you ask a publisher for an air check, most times they're having someone download the episode, specifically go in and cut the audio file, provide it to you in a Google Doc or Google Drive or something like that so that you can download it. And there's likely not a transcript. And so this right here, the big benefit I see is that this is operational, right? Like this means that I set my process, I build it around this tool, and I know that every single one of these is going to come out exactly how I want. And is the UI the only way to get this data?
Glad you asked. So actually, the UI is probably the less popular way to view the data. What we found is that most of our agencies and buyers in the space are using Google Sheets to some extent or another. So I can go ahead here and actually show you the alternate way to view the data. To answer your question though a second ago, for how do you tell us what ads to look for? So you can update the dashboard with requests, but what most people do, and we usually recommend it because it's easier, is to just provide us with a sheet each week, a Google Sheet that has your requests, and then we can automatically import this sheet of requests for you, which contains the advertiser, the expected ad date, the podcast. And one thing that we are always happy to help with is if, say, you're keeping track of your campaigns on a Google Sheet, on some internal sheet, what we can do is we can go in there and help craft a way where our Google Sheet will import from yours. So then actually you don't have to ever even send us the request or the places to look for ads, because we can just automatically pull it from your Google Sheet. So we're definitely happy to help set that up, because we know how important it can be to automate recurring tasks
Pete,
like that. So
I don't think you get enough credit for that. Honestly, I think that the truth is that we focus on ad tech and we focus on this product and getting people to log into our platform and really buy in to the thing we built. And we forget that the fact is it's supposed to be a tool and a service. And very few of these things are going to be the A to Z for everyone. 90% of clients are going to need one more thing that's custom. And the options are that you could build it and integrate every single thing every client needs and go nuts, or you can just say, sure, here's the raw data, right? And there's a little bit of like ego contest that goes on in the tech space of that. Like, no, you have to use ours and you have to use it our way, or we have an API where we do this. In my entire career, 13 years in the advertising space, my personal Gmail account is still associated to a staggering number of past companies I've worked at, their Google Drive set up for advertising. I wish that the entire advertising industry could move away from Google Sheets. I wish they could move to true databases. I wish they could move to order management systems, but it's not going to happen. And so it's very cool that you're meeting them there. And based on this example, based on what we've talked about before, it seems like if somebody has a custom way that they want to go about this, they want you to grab it from a different type of doc, they want you to export it to in a different way, you're set up to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely committed to helping any customers make using the product as seamless as possible because nobody wants, a new tool that comes with an added burden. So yeah, we're definitely willing to help out there with that as much as possible. Um, so so this is the request import template, and here's an example of how you could, starting later this month, specify the promo code as well that you wanted us to verify. So say for ExpressVPN, advertising on 2 bears, 1 cave, you could just put in this request file bears, and then we would flag for you on the dashboard or on the Google Sheet if the promo code didn't match. And that report is usually out within about 8 hours of when an episode is released. So you can definitely find issues and hopefully correct them sooner than later with that.
8 hours is a pretty quick turnaround. If you don't catch the ad in the first drop of the episode, do you re-download it a few more times in the subsequent hours or subsequent days to see when it comes through?
Yes, we do. I believe it's, if we don't find it right away, then we try it again 6 hours, then 12, and then maybe 2 days. I forget the exact back off period, but we do keep trying just to
I
try to,
think, yeah,
because yeah,
6 and
especially
12
for
to me is
DAI.
enough. 6 and 12 to me is enough to restart that, right? Like, because 6 and 12 says we missed that window, give me a make good. That episode doesn't count. Don't even bother putting it in there.
Yep. And the one area that is a little bit tricky is definitely DAI. So we typically catch the vast majority, probably 85% plus of DAI ads. And we'll do that often just by retrying, and you can specify the geo for where we should look, but we're pretty good about that. But yeah, so that's a big case where
Yeah.
retrying will definitely come into play
But this isn't
there.
meant as a tool to capture all the like the air checks for programmatic, right? You're not catching this for one publisher for the 1,000 of ads that come through because they're set up in like Podwave or anything like that. You're talking, this is for a campaign and someone has bought a considerable enough impressions that they want to track and get that air check. So even if it's dynamic ad insertion, we're talking a relatively manageable amount of rotation.
Yep, exactly. Although maybe at some point we could get to that, but for now, yep,
That's a bold
that's
one. That's a bold one. And
that's
I keep talking about this from the brand and advertiser side, but like I really want to emphasize that publishers who could use something like this and could set this up for their campaign, that's such a great added benefit. I mean, we're in a space right now where a lot of publishers are defaulting to use pod sites or Chartable or Claritas or whatnot for attribution, or they use Edison or Signal Hill Insights or Nielsen for surveys, and they have a preferred partner. And if you have a preferred partner, you have a preferred output, right? Something that you're proud of and sharing that. So if you as a publisher use this, and this is just part of your post campaign or mid campaign report to say, like, here are the air checks, so you have it. You just automate that process. You make it super easy to bundle it all up, make it available to them with transcript, with the text. That's really powerful, because if not, it's one person who probably isn't an audio editor slicing up MP3s when they absolutely could be doing something better than that.
yep, that's definitely I think the buyer agency use case is the strongest, but air checks and verification definitely, there's also a use for it on the publisher or representation company side, especially as the number of ads they place grows, because the number of requests for air checks likely increases on the buyer side. And also from what we've seen is that a number of rep companies and networks will still keep track of internally where their ads are being run. So maybe if you're a publisher or a network, you then, after an ad runs, you then go store in some Google Sheet, oh, this ad aired on 7/14, and here's where it was in the episode. So maybe you're doing that right now already. So one thing we've seen clients do is that here on the Google Sheet where we live, this would be an example of a client's sheet where we can live sync their ads right as soon as we find them, we'll be dumping them here. So it's a little bit out of date, but if this was your sheet, if we found an ad a couple hours ago, it would appear here along with a link to the audio and all the info on it that you saw on the dashboard. But what we've seen clients do is before, where they may have to then go in and keep track of when did this ad actually drop. So 621, before they would have to go in and then write that into their own internal spreadsheet, and they'd have to put the start time. But instead, what they could do is we could help them set up a VLOOKUP basically into this sheet. So as soon as the ad for Manscaped airs on Uncharted, their sheet can automatically pull from this Google Sheet into theirs. So then they don't have to have an ad ops person doing that work. So we definitely, I think that is an advantage of the Google Sheet, that we can integrate fairly well, both in terms of receiving and intaking the requests for where we should be looking, plus also for you to be able to get them back into your system however you may want to do that without having to have a team of engineers help you do that over a month. No coding required.
Yeah. And is that just part of the base fee, or is there a setup fee or anything?
Yep. We're happy to, the sheet is always included depending on the amount, the scope of work. We're happy to we can always figure something out. I mean, if it's something crazy, there might be a slight add-on fee, but typically not. Typically, we're always happy to help, because once if we're able to help you get set up with the sheet and pulling the data into your system, it's just the product just becomes that much more valuable for you.
I think that that's neat. That means that you priced and built this product around the mindset that one size does not fit all. That you have a clear output, and you know that output is valuable, but it's going to be different for each person, right? Every company, every agency, every brand, every publisher is going to have their own workflow. And instead of just asking them to adhere to yours, because this is new, right? This isn't a part of the process. There's many advertisers out there who just don't get air checks, right? So instead of saying like, this is our process, comply to it, you're saying, how do we fit yours? And that's typically baked in to a lot of the services you're providing. But it's also nice to say that there comes a point where you do have to do it as custom work, but you're open to the custom work. That's neat.
Yeah, definitely. Because for most customers, the core product of finding the ads and verifying them is the same, but we're happy to help on the the fringes of getting that data and what do you actually do with it once you get that data. And you might have seen me, I just flipped to this tab, the Recon tab. So this is pretty similar to what was on the dashboard, but it's basically just the Excel or the Google Sheets version of the dashboard. So you could scroll through here and get at a quick glance for whatever, I think the week of 621, you could see mismatches where you may have bought a mid, you got a post missing. Let's see if I can find a short. Here's a short where you paid for a 60-second ad, got a 44-second one. So you can quickly go in and see here as well if things may not have lined up. You can filter on the statuses, and just another way to get that data. And some people are just really comfortable in Google Sheets, so we want to give that option as well.
That's really cool. And what I like is that this is built off of your core original product, right? This is built off of the Podscribe transcription and competitive intelligence tool that I like a lot. Like we had a lot of fun digging through that. This one's just way more straightforward in the sense that, like, to me, I'm just shocked that there aren't more people doing it. I think that the base where you have the transcription has led you to this product. And I hope this becomes a very valid industry for this space. I hope this becomes table stakes, because right now we need more tools to say that ads happened, that the impressions happened, that the delivery counted. And then even more than that, the area that we haven't explored yet in podcasting, which is so frustrating to me, is the creative execution. So by having this data and being able to say, well, this show performed better than show B, you can listen to the ad and you can hear what about show A performed better than show B. And that right there is going to teach you how to change the specific value proposition that you have, the specific script, the bullet points, anything, the shows that you work with, right? The enthusiasm and energy that you're looking for from a host, or how they relate to their audience. That's data that we're not even remotely digging into yet. Creative is an afterthought. And this is the first step of saying, hey, how do I link this in? Not only to say it did work, it did happen, but how do I link it into my attribution? How do I link it into my other reporting? What more can I learn from it? It's super valuable.
Yep. Yeah, you're definitely right. Yeah. For now, the goal of this product is to capture and show you all of the low-hanging verification fruit. Make sure it aired, the right promo code, the right spot, the right length. But we definitely think that we can start to do a lot of interesting things with analyzing the actual ad read and the copy as well, especially since we have it now, and we do make it available to more, if clients are maybe more sophisticated and they want to programmatically pull in the actually just the link or the text of the ad, they can do that here. They can go in and pull in the actual audio clip and do whatever kind of analysis that they may be wanting to do. Because I think definitely as you increase your scale as a podcast agency or advertiser, there's definitely a lot more insights available from the data just as you have more of it.
Yeah, that's super true. So we got how you input it, which is Google Sheets, how you export it, which is the UI or a Google Sheet on there. What are we missing? Is there anything else we need to look through?
So that's basically the gist. I think the last thing I forgot to mention earlier that we can help you flag as well. So we have some placement info here. So first off, you might want to know just the number of what number the ad was in the episode, but we can also tell you in the actual group that it was in, which may be more relevant if you're not wanting to be stacked. So you can see here, we also mark that as well, because that could potentially also be something that you'd want to set a filter for, where if you're over the third ad in a group, you might want that to be flagged. But that's the gist of the product, though. The import, the viewing on the importing of the request, the viewing on the dashboard or the sheet, and then connecting your system to it however we can.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Well, Pete, we did it for the last one, the first one we did together. So I'm going to do it to you here. If someone wants to try this out, do you have a special offer for people on your announcement of this new product and the collaboration on another deep dive? What type of promo do you have available for people who want to try this out?
If you mention the code profitable and email us after this and just mention the code profitable, we're happy to give a 1 month free, totally free trial.
Wow.
Where you can come in and we can verify your ads for 1 month going forward, because we're definitely confident that if you're able to see the ads, the verification of the ads, you'll in most cases be able to pay for the tool and then some with the number of make goods you'll be receiving. And then in addition to whatever time we're confident we think the tool can save you and your team to free you up for more important things as well. So
That's awesome.
code profitable and a 1 month free trial.
I am super excited to hear that. And thank you so much, Pete. Congratulations on the launch. You guys we'll put the information at the end for you to find out exactly where to go. You can go to podscribe.ai and there'll be a link there. And we get the new website for Podverify coming soon. But again, it's the code profitable. You get 1 month free, which is way more than I thought what Pete was going to give away there, which is really cool. So please take me up on it, or take Pete up on it, actually. And I want to hear from you. If this worked, if you tried it and you liked it, please let us know. Bryan at soundsprofitable.com. We want to hear all about it. We want to tell the success that you've had with these products. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Pete, for giving us this demo. And we'll see you back next month.
See you in 6 months, I guess. Yep.
Yeah.
But thank you.